has been going on for a while. Now this is our fourth part. In the fourth part, we've already published some materials. They are some of them are on the social media, as well as on our website, and also in the medical literature. So we'll be, in the breaks today and tomorrow, we'll be sharing all these, details. Then you could go further, to get a hold of details. Now, the basis of the whole declaration of oncogenesis is set on the fact that the oncogenetic process, which is in public term cancer itself, is, as a matter of fact, the human body's own process and own progress. Because now we are talking about, when we say cancer cells, tumor cells, the cells that are owned by the host body, the host human body. So, just like all the cells we own in our bodies, we have and we even embrace the tumor cells, which are not favorable cells, of course, but now they are part of the human body. It is just like it is just talking about some siblings in the same family, some siblings may be, proud siblings, and also proudful, who are doing some good things, and family members and the parents can be proud of, and be happy of. But some of the siblings, one or two siblings may be bad, having bad habits and bad things, being on the street and not going to school and doing bad things, in the neighborhood, in the school, and bringing lots of problems and troubles to the family. But now family cannot say, the parents cannot say, well, he's not our son. They cannot say that. They can only say, okay, he's our son, but we are not proud of him. We are not happy about him. We are not happy with him. So a bad boy for the family. So what we do in the Declaration of Oncogenesis is the fact that now this is a real family situation. When for some reasons, one reason or more than one reason, more than one conditions and reasons, we have this tumoral process in human body. Well, it's this sad fact that we have a big problem, with cancer. We are talking about oncogenesis. When we see an oncogenetic beginning in a human body, we also see a full-blown reaction from the body, from the human body. So we are talking about some reaction, some response from the body, which is immunogenetic response. Now, immunogenetic response is totally administered by the immunologic means of human body. So we are talking about some action and reaction by the body itself. Now, we before, you know, well, there are some stages. Of course, we'll be talking about these stages of oncogenetic process. Before that, we have to talk about a few terms, medical terms, some of which have been, well, I mean, to me, you know, it is, we call it, I mean, mostly in medicine, misnomer. Some of them are in a state of misnomers, some of the terms, and some are still we are using, some are okay to go on with without any practical or literary questions. But you know, we have to just specify, you know, some of the terms before we talk about the oncogenetic process and the declaration of oncogenesis more in detail. When I'll start with this point.
Doctor, I'll bring it forward so everyone can see.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. The tumor microenvironment, we all know what it is. Tumor microenvironment, if we call this tumor, it would be good to take a note, because I mean, what we are going to talk here is very important, and as I said, you know, not in the mainstream public literary materials. So when we have the tumor here, this tumor, we are talking here about tumor microenvironment. In tumor microenvironment, we have the tumor cells, the emergent tumor cells, within a limited domain. So we are talking about a very, very tiny, very little vicinity where we can find the tumor itself and the tumor microenvironment. In the tumor microenvironment, what we see is some kind of competition on the border, concurrence in a way. This is body's own defense mechanism, and the tumor's own defense tools and progressive tools. When we have the whole process start, now we are talking about here a very big activity. In that activity, the cell, the tumor cells go for their survival. Because I mean, in human body, now we are talking about the body's own possession. You know, when we talk about the tumor cells, just like the other cells, they are body's own possessions, but not favorable possessions. When the whole thing we are talking about here, as we talk in general in medicine, the the maintenance and well-being of the human body is based on survival. This is the survival. When we talk about the survival here in the oncogenetic process, we are talking about the survival of the tumor cells' own survival and now body's own survival. Tumor cells here do everything necessary to keep up their own survival, because they have survived, because they're now at this moment the part of the multicellular organism, which is the host body. But at the same time, of course, the body itself has to keep its own survival in place. Here, we have three stages of, let's say, immune system. Has anybody heard about immune editing? Immune editing? You know? Yeah, okay. The immune editing is the immune system immunoediting. Immune system reaction to the tumor and emerging changes coming because of that reaction. Immune changes happens when macrophage T cells and natural killer cells. So we are talking about two stages. One stage is elimination. Elimination is the beginning of the elimination of the cancer cells. We are not talking about the whole elimination, because now if we are really lucky enough to mean the whole elimination of the tumor by saying elimination, everything would have been okay, and we wouldn't have any problem. We wouldn't have had any problem with dealing with cancer, with tumor cells. In the elimination, tumor cells get destroyed, because this is the first reaction. The first reaction is the elimination, but when the body starts eliminating the tumor cells get ready for defense and uprising against the body's own defense forces. Now, then they change themselves. And now they get some of them as real fighters against the body, human body. We call them immune-free. Sometimes in medical we call it immune-resistant. immune-free or immune-resistant cells. They started to produce those cells. They said, oh, wait a minute, now we are in trouble. How can we survive? We have to survive in some ways. Then what can we do? We change ourselves, at least some of us. Some of us should be, how can I say, martyrs. Some of us could be martyrs and we can die for it, but at least we can leave behind some of us as good fighters. So those good fighters are immune-resistant cells. Immune-resistant cells immediately get clever. They are born very quickly, and they get raised as some good and clever fighters. These cells are the immune effector cells. We basically call them immune effector cells. Immune effector cells. So can you imagine those cells, those immune-resistant cells, create their own immunologic force. So they, against the immune effector cells, they create their own defense, immune defense. So we are talking about two systems here. We are talking about two systems. The immune system, we are talking about now they produce cytokines. You know cytokines. As a matter of fact, this macrophage is the basic cytokine producers, and cytokines activate T cells and natural killer cells, and later on they also secrete cytokines, and they then keep on their feet to fight, need and have cytokines. Very interestingly, and the tumor cells, the immune-resistant tumor cells, they say, let's see if anybody knew this before. Medical or paramedical guests, any of you. Tumor cells, they say, wait a minute, macrophage, T cell, and natural killer cells, they come against us, towards us, badly, with cytokines. Cytokines keep them so energetic and active and powerful. And now, what do we have to do, about this? They produce cytokines also. They say, okay, now you do this, and now we are powerless. We have to keep up our fight, and now we also produce cytokines. The whole body says, wait a minute, what are you doing? You are not supposed to have or produce cytokines. You are only, simple, bad tumor cells. And yeah, we are bad tumor cells, but you know, we are using the same tool you use. So we have to use it, and we have to, in order to keep our survival, we have to use it. And so here we are. The tumor cells produce cytokines. And now you have tumor cells, this group, this tumor. The tumor, and the tumor cells, they say, okay, you have immune defense system. We have the immune defense system against you. Well, we have a magic chemical material, the cytokines, and now so you cannot beat it. Well, we can. Now we are producing cytokines. And that's it. This is the end of the fight. Body goes just appalled, And the body says, wait a minute, how can we, what is next? What is the next step? Now, we have been talking about this elimination now. So, the first phase. And now the second one is equilibrium. The third one is escape. So we are talking about 3 E's. Elimination, equilibrium, and escape. Now, in the equilibrium, in the body, the human body, the multicellular organism of human body is clever. But the tumor itself, a part of the tissue, of its own, also gets clever because now whatever is the body's point and target, survival, is exactly the same for the tumor. Tumor says, okay, now you are just concerned for your survival, and I'm concerned my own survival. It cannot go on like this. Let's make a deal. Let's make an agreement. And the body says, okay, now what's your deal? What's your proposal? What shall we do? They say, now let's get into talks. They get into talk, and we call basically, I'm just making the descriptions more simple, more simplified, to enable everybody to understand really. I'm not here today talking in strictly literary scientific terms, so more public and more paramedical rather than more technical. So they get into crosstalks. So this is the crosstalks. The body says, okay, we have to get rid of you. And the tumor says, well, I have to survive. We have to survive also. But can we find something in the middle? And the body says, no, there is no way, no conditions, nothing, no giving up. And so we have to, okay, now what is the deal? The deal would be your elimination, body says. And the tumor says, no way, I won't be eliminated, but I won't harm you, and I will be very careful and considerate as much as possible to go on my own way and leave you alone, saying to the body. And body now gets fooled. Body says, okay, now let's get into talk. When they get into talk, the tumor cells, the clever ones, the immune resistant ones, uses body's own tools and means for survival, and then get into equilibrium. Equilibrium, this is the meaning of equilibrium. So at that moment, very short moment of equilibrium, body thinks that, okay, now we solved the problem, if not totally, mostly, but that's not true. It is not. But it gets fooled by that. When body settles down in the equilibrium stage, tumor gets on its own way very insidiously, and then at the end of the stage of equilibrium, the things get out of hand. And now, that moment, and the end of equilibrium, that very short stage of being fooled by a tumor, this is the real start of oncogenesis. This is the real start of oncogenic process. This is the real start of cancer. Then cancer then begins. Then the body says, okay, now all the defense mechanism and the immune system and all the tools and fighters and everything, the body says, the central command says, okay, guys, we got fooled. Sorry, it shouldn't have that happened that way. So we got fooled now. It is the things are now getting out of hand because now these bad boys got us on table, to get in some crosstalks and deals towards good resolution, which would be good for each side. But now that was not the case, and so we are fooled. Now everything is now out of hand. So we have to start a full-blown war against the tumor. By the time body says to its own tools and fighters against the tumor gets quite away. So this is the escape. So we are talking about when the full-blown war starts against the tumor gets, every minute it gets cleverer and cleverer, and wiser and wiser. And so they make more immune here. When we had those cells in the elimination stage, immune-free and immune-resistant cells, now they get old. And now they are out of scene because the body finds a way to take care of their new immune-resistant IDs. Now, again, they say, okay, now we are unfolded. Now they got us, and now they produce new generations of cells, which are new immune-resistant cells. Now, the new immune-resistant cells, new generation immune-resistant cells, are the ones who escape. This is the stage, escape. Now, they escape. So we are talking about the metastasis. But they escape. How? They need help for that. I mean, when you want to escape from a prison, you either must have a very, very good plan, very, very clever plan, or some insiders, some people, guardians or whatever, who can help you. Otherwise, there is no any other help. You either need a clever plan or traitors or the prison. Otherwise, you cannot get away. So, what they do here for escape, they use the body as tools again, and they use the body, host body again once more. There's the host body who vowed not to give any way or any open door to tumor. He vowed that. I'm saying he because we dramatized here, so we are talking about the cells and the defense tools and warriors and all the means, like individuals. So now again, the new generation tumors and tumor cells, the tumor itself, the tissue, uses the body. How they use them, they basically the macrophage for a long while in medicine, macrophage was the magic fighter, but it is still the magic fighter of the human body. Recently, for a while, it has been considered as scapegoat of everything here because macrophage in many occasions, depending upon the impressions and the results from so many research materials and research studies, it sided with tumor cells. So it sided with cancer and helped it rather than stood against it. There are still questions about the real format of identity of macrophage today. To me, if you ask me, macrophage is still the good old loyal fighter of the human body. Still, some colleagues no longer accept its own good-natured heroism, but I still defend it. I still defend macrophage. But here, the macrophage I defend here is the one, again, that help the escape of the tumor cells. Well, now this is obviously not intentionally, because the macrophage is the real backbone fighter, basic fighter of the human body. So basically, macrophage wouldn't let that happen, but it does here. You know why? New generation immune resistant cells have their papers, and now these are all new in medicine. Now, listen carefully. In Nazi Germany, you always carry your papers. If you don't have your papers with it, that's the end of you. So sometimes you carry genuine papers, your papers sometimes, and most of the time, you carry false papers. You see in that films, in so many films, you see that. And 90% of the papers Jewish people showed to SS officers or Gestapos are false. You know why false? They have to be false because they cannot get their genuine papers in a normal way, in a legal way. You know, I mean, how can you do that? You know, I mean, you go to such and such office to get, well, okay, I have my legitimate papers. Can I have them? You cannot have them, and now there you are dead. You are dead anyway. Also, you ask for papers, you are Jewish, then that's it. They kill you. They kill you there. You cannot do it. You cannot get it. The genuine papers, you know, I mean, they have earlier, you know, before the war, you know, they had, probably some of them are void, you know, expired or so, but some of them are okay and they use, but some of them, most of them are false. This is the matter of survival, you know, to survive, you know, you have to create your own survival tools. So they prepare false papers. And again, most of them get caught. They say, oh no, this is not legitimate, come here. And so that's it. Now here, macrophage gives tumor cells legitimate papers. Legitimate papers. And then every one of them, each one of them, they get a paper and run away. They get a paper and run away. They get a paper and run away. And now they create new circular system of their own, and they get run away, and they get in the general circulation of the human body. Now that is the biggest problem. And now again, the macrophage is under fire. Macrophage says, oh, okay, I'm a space scapegoat, you know, I'm a famous scapegoat, so I mean, what can I do? Wait a minute, you are no longer a scapegoat, you are guilty. You are guilty, and you are now organs where they can find new domains. There are local immunologic systems that belong to the organ itself. Now, we are not talking about the bodily system, but we are talking about local organic system of immune defense. It is something like, you know, when we talk about United States, there is a federal system, and there is also a state system, a state governorship. So, I mean, let's say this is the governorship, and the governorship, most of the time, you know, when you have your right papers, but they are false papers. Sorry, they are not false papers, but they will be later on. I will tell you about that. They are legitimate papers, given, signed, and stamped by macrophage, and now they are away. When they get here, they get here and they get their domains, and later on. So this is the state. This is the state governance, and so we are talking about the whole federal system, federal governance. So the local governance get them in because they have papers, legitimacy, and now they get dwelled here. They get dwelled here in the new organ. They do well, and so they grow. Now we are talking about metastasis. Now the federal government says, wait a minute, what are you doing? Now, these are the people, such and such, you know, I mean, this has been going on, you know, for a while, you know, this elimination equilibrium, and then now all these things, and the state governors says, okay, that's it. Now, we didn't know that, and now we know it. And that's it. They create their own fighting system. I'm talking about the normal tissue, the body's own tissue, normal defense system against the tumor cells, runaway cells. And now we are talking about a new fight here, a local fight, not the federal fight. It's like just like a civil war in the United States. There was a basic civil fight, so to say, federal fight, but there were also local fights. In local fights, the local commanders had the full authority to make decisions in the moment, not necessarily to listen to the federal commanders, because they have their own authority to make decisions. But when Pony Rider comes, with a summons from Washington. Oh, wait a minute, here, read it. It's come from the president. Oh, okay, now. Okay, boys, we changed the whole tactical system, and we changed everything. Now we are getting ready to get rid of this whole thing. But now it is too late, because now it happens at the same time in so many, on so many fronts, so many places, so many tissues. We are talking about also, depending upon the type of the tumor itself, we are talking about so many organs at the same time. Now, so this is the end of escape. The whole body involved and overwhelmed, by the tumor itself. And most of the time, we come into scene as doctors at that stage. And now it is too late. So we are talking about a terminal stage. And now at this moment, medically, our capabilities and tools are limited to get rid of the whole situation, to eliminate the whole situation. So this is today, now, in this minute, this is where we are now. This is where we are. There, I was talking about some we were talking about thank you very much. Thank you very much. So then what we do, we just do necessary things. So this has been overview now. So from this moment on, what we should do. Now let's start with some little bit of terminologic affairs here. We talked about tumor microenvironment. Micro. Microenvironment. Now, there's also something macroenvironment. Macro. Now you'll see how interesting this is now. So this is tumor microenvironment. So again, we are talking about also tumor macroenvironment. Now, the first, I searched through so many research materials. They talk about tumor macroenvironment in the same study material, same article. They say, when they say write tumor macroenvironment, and they at the same time they talk about tumor macroenvironment, and so tumor microenvironment, and also macroenvironment. How interesting and funny. In the same article, they say, okay, now they're talking about two environments, microenvironment and macroenvironment. And one by one, every time they write, because it is a TME, and the other is also TME. I just couldn't believe it. I knew it, I knew they do that, but I just today cannot believe it, how they do this. They write TMA, in the course of the article, yeah. Material and really data and findings and the discussions and the results and everything. And they say TME in parentheses macroenvironment. And in the next paragraph, they talk about macroenvironment. They again write TME, just like this. And then to make the this difference, to make the specificity, they again write it in the parentheses. Wait a minute, guys, don't get it wrong. This is macroenvironment. Again, TME and macroenvironment. And then they talk about microenvironment again. They write again TME and in parentheses microenvironment. Again, in the next paragraph, they write TME again, in parentheses macroenvironment. This is just unbelievable and this is just stupid. I made the suggestion like this. This is new. Micro, the M should be micro itself also in printing. Tumor microenvironment, and this is tumor macroenvironment. So simple. Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? Every time you write TMA and in the parentheses microenvironment, and TMA again in parentheses macroenvironment, again and again. Here, you can just write these and don't write anything in parentheses. Just say TME with a small m, then people will know this is microenvironment, and now with big capital M, there is macroenvironment. So simple. This is so confusing. When they do that, it is so confusing. Sometimes, very seriously confusing and very seriously bad. Sometimes they forget. I mean, it's a 20-page article. It's a 20-page article, 25-page article. Sometimes they forget to put the explanation in parentheses. And now they talk about TMA as micro and TMA as macro. You don't know what he is talking about. Is he talking about macroenvironment or macroenvironment? So confusing. Here's the solution. So this is it. This is new in literature. I don't know how long it will take to come in the general sense. I mean, in the at large, and the mainstream, so to say. It will take some time to get it settled like this. So this is now this is a very clean-cut description of and denotation of the terms, two terms, microenvironment and macroenvironment. So simple. When you do that, you don't have to go through any explanation. Okay, wait a minute, guys. I meant microenvironment or I meant macroenvironment. So when you put these, and that's it. This is the end of solution. Clear cut, straight. So okay, now we are. So this was some kind of little but very important concern about the description and terminology of the two important terms in medicine, in oncology today. So now we can talk about tumor microenvironment and tumor macroenvironment now. Tumor microenvironment, we've been talking, since the start of this conversation now. We were talking about tumor microenvironment. Okay, now we know now what tumor microenvironment is. We've been talking about this until this moment now. So let's talk about tumor microenvironment. Another misnomer situation. When what time is it now? Yes. Yeah. Okay. We will be talking about tumor microenvironment. This one, which is very important. What they call tumor microenvironment and what they should call it, the microenvironment. This is also very important, and so it's a very big issue. We'll be talking about this after the break. If we had a break, how long?
So it's 20 minutes. We have refreshment break. All the time.
Yeah, refreshment break. Yeah, okay. Okay, we are a little late for this break, I think, but it's okay. Now, after the refreshment break, we'll come together. Thank you very much. Your floor. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Thank you. Now, we were just at this point of talking about macroenvironment. Okay, now we are talking about the tumor, and the tumor's microenvironment. Micro, as the name says, very small and limited surrounding of the tumor. So this is the tumor microenvironment. By his own defense mechanism tools, as well as management of the situation caused by the presence of the tumor, and all the means of defense and administrating the oncogenetic situation here are all in this microenvironment. Now, we are talking about very, very little limited and isolated area when we talk about tumor microenvironment. Now, our colleagues, can you see? Yes. Can you see? Yeah. No, it's okay. Can you? Okay. So, can you see? Yeah. So very well. Can you see? Now, every bit of the content in this presentation is new in our medical field and research-wise as well as literally. So it is always good to take a note of some important points here. So now, tumor microenvironment, is the main player of the whole situation in regard to oncogenesis, meaning the tumor, in other words, cancer. And now, in the research field, as well as in the literary medical literary world, the other important term is tumor microenvironment. Our colleagues across the world, if we imagine this, the whole body, and so we are talking about the tumor here, and the microenvironment is the tumor microenvironment. So there's a disappearing, fading away boundary here between the human body is normal standard tissue and the new unwanted tissue. So we are talking about here tumor microenvironment. So our colleagues across the world consider the whole system, I mean the whole body, the host body. We call this host body. So our body is our host host system, or let's say the system hosting the tumor happening, the cancer progress. So now when we talk about a macro environment, we are talking about another environment which involves the whole area, the progression goes on as a happening, a new happening. So we are talking about some kind of vicinity. The whole happening, you know, in tumor microenvironment can anytime go further. Yeah, because of those stages we talked earlier, those three stages, elimination and equilibrium and escape, you know, 3 AEs. When we talk about those stages, you know, we now realize that, come to realization that, you know, we talk about the possibilities of having the whole happening out of hands and out of reach and going above the current limits. But our colleagues talk about the whole body as macro environment. Now, in my presentation here, I wanted to state that, you know, I oppose this because of the reason that the body, the whole body, cannot be considered as macro environment. Here's the situation, here's the reason at the same time. When we talk about can you see? Okay. When we talk about the environment, by the meaning of the word itself, environment is the surrounding. Environment is the surrounding, the vicinity, the neighborhood, you know, whatever you call it. You know, it's a limited area. It's a limited area. So in macro environment, when we have the tumor, the happening, the oncogenesis, out of limits, we still have the whole progression up to certain limits. Let's think about metastasis. And when we have the metastasis, we are still talking about some certain fields because, as you know, bone cancer can only go to certain organs for metastasis. Liver cancer can only go some certain organs for metastasis. Then in other organs and other places, you cannot just find them because they just don't happen there. Again, this is the ID recognition of the tumor. In some organs, they get on their way, but in some organs, they have no way to get in. So we are talking about still some limited boundaries of the whole happening. Our colleagues call the whole body macroenvironment. The whole body is not a macroenvironment, cannot be, because the body is a system, multicellular system, is not even at the terminal, in its terminal stage of the cancer and ongoing cancer. It is not, apart from involved organs and tissues, it is still going on its feet, still functioning multicellular organism. It is still a functioning body. So we cannot dedicate the whole multicellular organism of human body as macroenvironment. I call the tumors, let's say this is in liver. Now, when we talk about anything happening in the liver, let's say this is liver carcinoma, liver cancer. Now we are talking about one organ, and then we are talking about the progression of the tumor within the organ, and then later on metastasis. Now this is the microenvironment, and now I call this macroenvironment, not the whole body. When we call the whole body macroenvironment, we are talking about something, although overwhelmed by the cancer itself, we are not talking about an environment. This is the environment. This is the environment, and so this is it. Now we are talking about macro surrounding and macro neighborhood of the tumor. And then when we have the metastasis in other organs, now we are still talking about macroenvironment as only the involved organs, and that's it. But basically, physically, when we talk about macroenvironment, we are just talking about a physical neighborhood, not untangible system, because the body is a system, not the environment. Now, this is the microenvironment, this is the macroenvironment. So what is the name of the whole system? Then the body is owning. Now, well, I call it systemic oncogenetic network. Systemic oncogenetic network is the network, beautiful term. Now, when you talk about the human body, involved human body as an environment, now you are talking about network. How suitable, how suiting. This is, we are talking about the network. Now, the systemic oncogenetic network. Systemic oncogenetic network is the whole situation, the whole happening in the human body itself. We've been talking about since this morning. So in this network, whatever you can imagine in regard to cancer, oncology, oncogenesis, and anything, the whole body gets involved with macrophages and natural killer cells and T cells and cytokines. We've been talking about. Now we are talking about a whole system. Now, one cell, any cell, a tumor cell or normal cell, resident cell of human body, any kind of cell. A cell's basic duty is to survive. And what is it after survival? Not only survival, but multiplication. It has to multiply itself. Cancer cells or normal cells, it doesn't matter. I mean, whatever is the identity and the format of the cell, it doesn't matter. We are talking about a multicellular organism, a human being, and we are talking about the cells in its system, multicellular system. So when we involve so many things at the same time, immunologic functionality and immunologic happening, and at the same time anything counterparting that, like oncogenesis and all the activities and functions, I mean their own functions of tumor cells, whatever you can imagine, hundreds and thousands of players and thousands of factors and thousands of intimidators and participants, participating materials and tools, anything. You are now talking about a system. This is a system. This is not a macro environment. This is not an environment, for oncogenetic happening. This is a system. So this is new. This is a systemic oncogenetic network. This is the network in the whole body. When you have cancer, systemic oncogenetic network has its own parameters, to call itself, to be called as a systemic oncogenetic network, and also at the same time very big and important components like tumors' own systems and self-made tools and mechanisms, the tumor's own, and at the same time the whole body's systems and tools, from defense system to survival system and maintenance system and administration, the systems of its own administration. So we are talking about the whole lot of components as systems and tools. Now we are then talking about a network, because they are never side by side, but they are across each other, and they are against each other, but they live together. They are together in the whole body. So we are talking about a network. In this network, there are a lot of things going on, most of which we don't know yet. Still, unbelievably, we don't know, but we will be. As we carry on with the Declaration of Oncogenesis, we will be getting into all those mysteries, of course. We are now already. We are getting into it already. So when we consider the whole happening as a systemic oncogenetic network, now we have the capability and opportunity to go on step by step and component by component in order to solve the whole mystery. Now, we indeed now when we talk about the tumor macroenvironment, now we are only talking about a vicinity, not a network or system. Some colleagues, interestingly, called the tumor macroenvironment at the same time a system, like a tumor. There are some terms they use, and it changes from article to article. They just specify the fine line and differences between microenvironment and macroenvironment. They call tumor macroenvironment is some kind of a system. You know, maybe you come to notice in some articles when they talk about tumor macroenvironment, they also talk about some kind of system. But now, a macroenvironment and a system, meaning-wise, are not the same. You know, you cannot. I mean, environment is an environment, not a system. You know, you cannot call an environment a system, and you cannot call a system environment. You know, when we talk about the environment of the planet, for example, you know, I mean, environmental issues on our world, on our planet. Now we are talking about ourselves. We are talking about our own planet, you know, where we are stepping on now, and at the same time we are talking about the atmosphere. But as far as that, and that's it, no further than that. What about the sun system? 9 planets. And what about the whole galaxy? We are dependent on our whole planet. I mean, the sun system. And we are dependent on the whole galaxy. I mean, can we survive without sun? Without the sun? We cannot survive. So, we are talking about a system here, but we are rightly call our environmental issues using the word environment. That's okay, because we are just talking about our world and our atmosphere. That's it. Full stop. This is. We can now talk about environment of our planet. That's fine. But we cannot involve the environment with the sun system and with the galaxy. Although we depended on them, but we call them system. It's a system. We also call it sun system, huh? Sun system. Yeah, we are talking about the environment related to our planet, the world, and we are talking about the system when we talk about the whole system. And there are billions of systems like the sun system in the galaxy, billions of them. Now we still have a hell of difficulty to reach our nearest neighbor. Our nearest neighbor is yeah, that's right. Yeah, Moon. Yeah, and the other Mars, for example. Mercury, Venus, and then World, and then Mars comes. Yeah, Mars. Now we are still not there. Huh? We are still not there. Look, how imaginative, you know, we can only be, you know, when we talk about the whole system. The nearest one, we are not there yet. Just imagine. So how do you call it? The scientists of scientists dealing with
Astrophysics.
yes, bravo. Yeah, astrophysicians, for astrophysics, astrophysicists. They talk about the systems. You know, I mean, they don't talk about environment. We talk about environment, we talk about the world, but we are talking about a system. It is exactly the same. So we are talking about two environments, and now we are talking about the whole systemic oncogenetic network. So this is the system we are talking about. So we'll be going on tomorrow, of course. So far, I think everything is clear, huh? Yeah. I mean, if there is any question, I can be happy to answer.
Yeah.
Go on.
Metastasis, it happens mostly in the bones, and you didn't say it, but that metastasis happens to the bone.
Right.
Yeah, from many tumors.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. But as I said, you know, I mean, some tumors at the same time just takes their action in some certain organs, but bones, you are right. Yeah, I mean, most of them. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So the liver metastasis, it doesn't go to the breast tumor or settles there in the breast. You have breast cancer and it
not most of the time. Not most of the time. But when we talk about a certain tumor, my point was this.
Yeah.
Some tumors, identical format, are suitable for some organs.
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted.
Yes, and not suitable for some other organs. So, but that's also something to be worked on.
Yeah, because not much is published on this aspect.
That's right. Not much. So there is this whole good research line, you know, to probe into. Yeah, really. Yeah. So that's and so it is still not known. For example, some cancer create metastasis in some organs, some certain organs, but in some organs, in other organs, they don't. You know, I mean, every time, in every case. So there is something to go into in terms of research, really.
Yeah, I think it's a new line of research.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really thank you.
Yes, yeah, sure. Thank you. So, any other questions?
Actually, I would like to ask a question.
Yeah, sure. Go on, Alex.
In relation to the interstitium, there was recently found this new so-called organ that is sort of a mesh that interacts with other organs.
Yes.
And it seems so that cancer can provide a signal through the interstitium to, I guess, contaminate other parts of the body. Would you care to elaborate on that subject? Would that be a medium to, again, bring a signal to other parts of the organism I guess, promote this oncogenic?
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
And perhaps, sorry to interrupt, perhaps this would be another way to even fight cancer if the signal would be reverted or uncalled.
Right.
Or
right.
Would you care to elaborate on that?
Yeah, of course. Now, so now in the middle of that is again macrophage. And other immunologic fighters. There are so many of them, but the macrophage is the head, so to say, head fighter. You know, and so interstitial tissue they are always ready, to do any action. Not only against tumor or any kind of oncogenic happening, but anything. Snake bite and a bee bite or radiation or anything, and they are ready and poised to take action against that. So, in regards to the point you are making, it is the availability is no problem. It is always there. The thing is, the problem is the insidious and clever capabilities and practicalities of the tumor cells to adapt to the conditions they are facing. The conditions created or readily available, made readily available by the body itself. So that's a very important post, I should say. That interstitial tissue or organ. So a lot of crosstalks happen and go on there. So still there is a lot to research into that, which there will be. That's also the basic meaning of the World Declaration of Oncogenesis. More than putting new things and new happenings. The unfolding of new happenings. Not only that, but also opening gates and avenues to new research lines. That's a whole lot of new research line, basic research line you are talking about. This one. So body's system, the whole system against tumor, is always there, readily available. But the problem is what that system is facing. And what situations and conditions they are going to deal with. And now at one moment, they know what they are dealing with, but next day they have no idea those apparatus and means are going to face. So the whole thing is new. The whole thing is new for the body. For example, for the oncogenesis, God forbid, in your body, if the oncogenetic progression happens, then the first thing your body faces is just a shock, a total shock. What the hell is this? What do we do? What is this? Then let's move. Let's mobilize all our available capabilities to deal with that. But it's a new thing, and so they have to deal with it. All means of defense. And so this is going on in the yes, yeah, and then step by step, as we talked about those 3 E's, elimination and equilibrium and escape stages. This has been dealt with, but mostly unsuccessfully, unfortunately, and so then we have the whole problem, with cancer. Yeah. I hope I try to.
Certainly, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Certainly. And we also hope that precision medicine, for instance, I was speaking about IBM Watson, and how precision medicine and oncology can also attend to
that's right.
each person's needs and each type of cancer depending on the body.
Yeah, absolutely. Now this is the current name of the game,
Right.
and I think it finds itself a good place now in the research, medical research communities, and especially in oncology, of course, and in some others as well, like AIDS and other diseases, bad, unmanageable diseases. But in particular in oncology, it is very, very important. What you are saying, yes, yeah, absolutely, sure, you are welcome.
Are there any other questions?
I think now the buzzword is also there about genetic susceptibility. So our body is susceptible to cancers, or is it not susceptible or resistant to cancers? Any cell at any time can become cancerous depending on the genes or the genetics of the body. Yeah.
Sure.
Is it?
Yeah. No, this is genetically and epigenetically. I mean, we have this susceptibility. You know why? Now, one cell in human body, as an answer to your question, one cell in the human body, as I said, it has to multiply. I mean, this is a part of survival. This is just a part of survival. I mean, just you put a seed of anything, a plant, a seed of a plant, you just throw it away, or just brush it away, for cleaning, just cleaning, I mean, there are seeds there, so you just clean them, throw them away, and then a few months later, you see a little plant coming out of it. One of those seeds, you brushed away, it goes there, and so now it's a plant. Now this is a survival. It's a matter of survival, not only for human body, I mean, not only for multicellular organisms and animals and human beings, also plants. I mean, it is the same survival for them. So that seeds goes there, suddenly a few months later, I mean, you say, what is this? It's a corn, I didn't plant it there, so how come? Well, you don't remember, but you brushed it away, so it survives, provided that it fits into the environment. But if it is somewhere else, then it may not survive. Human cells and any cells in living bodies and plants and human cells and animals and everything, any living cell has to multiply for survival, but provided that the conditions and environments are suitable for them. If they're not suitable, they don't bother. They say, well, what a life, I mean, I'll kill myself and that'll be better. That'll be the happy ending. So they end themselves, because there's no suitable condition. There's no suitable condition. It's the apoptosis in human body, we call it. But I mean, multiplication. Now coming to your question, every time there's a multiplication now, daughter cells, and now they have daughter cells, now have their daughter cells, and they have their daughter cells. Now, in living cells, in plants, and in animals, including humans, there is a tendency to weakness. at every step of multiplication, at every generation. For example, now this is a totally healthy, genetically and physically and in every way, it's a perfect model of a cell. But every time they multiply and they get second generation, third generation, fourth generation, every time, every division they have, every new division and successive divisions, they have weakness. When we talk about weakness, we are not talking about only physically, but basically genetically. Genetical weakness. So we are coming to a very delicate format of well-being. After multiplication after multiplication, divisions after divisions, there is always that tendency of weakness, genetically and epigenetically. So we have that tendency, that bad tendency as human beings. We have that. So in our bodies now at this moment, for every one of us, in our bodies now, a lot of divisions are going on at this moment, at this minute, and there are a lot of mutations. When I talk about weakness genetically, I'm talking about mutations. So we are having mutations at this moment. All of us are having our mutations. But now it takes time for all those mutations build up one by one and come up with some kind of disaster. Sometimes the person in question has not enough time to see it because they die in a traffic accident or in another disease, viral disease or something, they die with some reason. If a person live another 10 years, probably he'll have a tumor in his or her body. So, we are, every one of us are having this weakness, which is in more strict medical terms, mutations. It's a cascade of mutations. It's a cascading mutations. Mutations after mutations after mutations after mutations. So, and it takes time, for happening like cancer or oncogenesis to show itself. So we are talking about long cascades of mutations, superimposing mutations we are talking about. Yeah, so we are all having that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sure.
I appreciate your answering questions. I'm sure that we'll be able to, at some point, maybe tomorrow, cover
definitely
these processes for cellular senescence, and how these genetic factors end up not showing up correctly, perhaps even diving into telomerase, perhaps diving into other aspects that allow these epigenetic changes, aside from what's inherited in the germline. I would love you all to give a round of applause to Professor Karindas. At the moment, we seem to not have that much time.
Sure.
We will have to
we are here
give
tomorrow
some space.
Yeah.
Yes, but it will certainly be a topic that we can all...
Of course, we'll carry on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that we'll all get to know how we sadly all have cancer, and our immune system is fighting at some point. But
Precisely.
But it will be again, my honor to learn more.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Alex. Thank you.
It's my honor.
And mostly mine.
My honor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, please give a round of applause to Professor Karindas, President of the Royal Academy of Medical Sciences.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.